Hello. I skipped the intro. I skipped the intro because of that sound bug, and now that I know about it and I'm remembering it, it's bugging me. So the bug is bugging me. How are you all? Welcome. Hi, Shem. Thirst to talk. Hi, Nancy. Hello. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Dee. Welcome. How are you? Did you guys have a good, wait, it wasn't Easter. Was it Easter? It's been Easter since we last talked, right? Maybe some spring breaks, vacations. A lot of people I've been seeing coming back from vacation. It's awesome. The weather is gorgeous here. I was so hot in my office yesterday. I finally figured out how to switch it from heat to cool. That did the trick. This one thermostat's broken, so I couldn't change it. Anyway, all right. I know this is nothing anyone asked for with this ruffle top, but this little top, I bought a top like this through a really interesting company. I want to call it like the Tupperware sales of clothing, but in a really good way. I mean, I love Tupperware too, actually. Don't get me wrong. Hi, Kelly. Welcome from the Ozarks. I feel like that show really put you guys on the map, didn't it? I love that show. Gorgeous. And I wore the heck out of this little top. And it's been kind of in my bin. Like, it's actually been in my bin of things of like, don't forget about this top. You can't wear it anymore. It's too like tired now. The elastic was failing on it. It's too small for me. And I just wanted one like it. I love that it's knit and it's comfortable, but it still looks kind of like, not dressy, but just like I put effort in, right? Oh, and this is the one I originally had. So let me put it on the full screen. I don't know why I put the mouse way over there. So I didn't adjust my full screen either. So let me pull this over here. So this was the little top. And the one I'm making today with you guys, I'm going to show you how to do this kind of sleeve, which is basically a cut-on little cap sleeve. And then the one, and then this one is unhemmed, or not unhemmed, I'm sorry. It doesn't have the elastic around the hem. I really like this actually. The reason I put the elastic around the hem on the other one was just an experiment. So I'm going to show you both ways. So I'm going to show you this, and you can see like this elastic around the neck is tired. Like the blouse is too small for me and it's still kind of tired right here. And this one doesn't use shearing elastic, which is really interesting. So if you have something similar to like this stuff, just like narrow elastic, you would need something narrower than this. I don't have anything narrow enough, but this is braided. Actually, this is knitted. I would do knitted or braided elastic, whatever you have, in like a really narrow width. Like this stuff is 1/8 inch wide. It's like half the width of this. So that would work. But I like this, it's really simple. So I will tell you the 2 drawbacks of this blouse is that it can get very low cut. Very low cut because these gathers are pulling. So this is one reason I wanted to make my own. Because I never really liked that, even though it looked good. It really looked good on me. I just, you know, you have a kid, you're holding your kid, this is where they grab. They grab your shirt right here. If you know, you know. And the other thing about it, is that these gathers right here, I'm going to put it at an angle so you can see kind of the gathers across the belly. They can kind of look droopy. They can kind of sag down like this, right? And that doesn't necessarily look bad. Like I asked people, like, do you notice this? But to me, I think it's just a sewist's eye. You notice it. And you can see it in the white one that I've been showing you guys, is that one, because it's blousier and looser, it does that. I don't think it looks bad. It's just the thing that, it's something to think about. Tighter you go, you won't get that. So, let me put back here. So, hi Kira, how's it going? My sound is quiet. Let me check it. That's funny because, let me check it, because when I was doing my sound check, the first one was loud and then the second 2 weren't. And I was wondering why. So let me just make sure everything's plugged in. The DB is up. Everything's plugged in. Let's see, if I go through these, it'll get quieter, then louder. That help at all? Is it? Yeah, it is. It's strange, huh? I'm fine now. It was weird on the other camera. Oh. That's weird. Let me see. This volume's all the way up. All the way up. We want loud. Oh, there's oxygen. Okay. But it's better here. Yeah, exactly. So it's my face cam. Huh. That's interesting. I'm looking for the difference between the two. Interesting. It's not really interesting. It's just frustrating. Yeah, exactly. It's the face cam. What about here? Does it go down here? Is it okay here? When I'm on this one? Is the machine camera, say machine camera, if it's like when you're talking about which camera, because I'm ahead of you in time. And I know that the, it seems like the iron camera is also lower. I wonder why that is. Okay, well, we're okay here. No what? No. Hi, Julie. How's it going? Hi, Mullen. Hi, Lean. Hi, Hannah. I don't know if I said hi to all of you. Thanks for helping me. Machine cam is also weird. Well, what the heck? When we see the pattern, you sound good. Anything else sounds off. Let me look at this. Let me look at my things here. Sorry. Box Yeti. Face. Pattern table. Let's look at this one. Face. Web. Face. Yeah. I wonder why that is. I can see I have to talk really loud to get it up at the higher register. Which here I don't have to. It goes instantly to the higher register. It's the same microphone, so it's the same settings. Okay. Well, we're here for now. We will be going to the machine cameras today, I think. Unless I feel like this is too long, then we could do this like part 2 on Saturday, and then I can do color talk another day as well. It's like my mic isn't working. Weird. I honestly don't know what that would be. I have to think about it. Okay, let's just move on. All right, so let me show you. So basically, the other little top I have is the one I've been showing you in the photos, right? So the difference between this one and the brown one is that this one has a sleeve. So it has a little set-in sleeve right here. See the seam right here, right? Hi, Amy, how's it going? And then I put elastic around the hem down here just to test it out. I think the brown one, the elastic is further apart here, and it also goes all the way to the hem. And I didn't really like the way that looked. I felt like what I was trying to combat is that little draping that I get right here, you know, with pulling down. And it's going to do that if it's not a tight garment, right? And I thought, all right, let's experiment. So I stopped it kind of higher up right here. I took it out too, and knotted it right there, so it looks funny. And then I put a little piece around the hem. I put 2 pieces around the hem. So you can see inside there. 2 rows of shearing and 2 rows of shearing. So this elastic in this one is bobbin elastic, which is like this stuff right here, right? And then I also had some success. I thought it'd be worth trying mask elastic. So if you have some of this really soft mask elastic,
I think that this, if you need to get rid of it, this could be a really good application. Now, if you're using a pretty heavy knit, it may not be strong enough to draw it up. So do some tests, like measure it, be methodical. Say, all right, here's this 8-inch piece. I'm gonna slightly pull this elastic as I attach it and see how much it draws it up. All right, for my next test, I'm gonna really pull on this elastic and sew it on there and see how much more it draws it up. And kind of get a feel for every 8 inches, you're losing, you know, 2 inches of length. If that's a satisfactory amount for your garment, then I would use it. Because I think that I'm gonna try it just because it's a lot softer against your skin. Your hair wholeheartedly. Hi, Sylvia. I guess I do like ruffles. I like ruffles in a particular way. So yeah, so this is just 1/8 inch mask elastic. We're all still recovering from using this up, right? And then my last option, because this is a project that I want you to be able to do without having to shop, right? So if you have some knit around, if you already have a t-shirt pattern, if you already have some elastic, hopefully we can figure something out. So this right here is a narrower elastic. I would do something even narrower, like half this width, so about 1/8 of an inch. This is what they're using on that brown top. This is probably gonna give you, I'm not gonna say the best result, but I think that this would probably be the most predictable result, easiest to sew on, and longest lasting. So I'll just say that. I think that this is probably the best choice, is using straight up really narrow elastic. Most of you probably don't have 1/8 inch elastic like this that's flat, right? So kind of a bummer that way. This is usually the kind of thing you would you'd specifically buy for a project, and most people don't. So because I have everything, I don't have that even. Stash brushing product, yeah. Oh, nice, Nancy. That's great. You can do it, oh, do it on the side. So that's one thing I did do, is I added a little gathers to my side seam to also sort of help pick up the gathers. See how when I do this and I'm just like relaxed, they're straight across. That helped a little bit as well. You could do this on the sides, but you know, Amy, you know what I would consider, Amy, is taking your side seam, getting rid of your side seam. Could you do a seam down your center front or your center back? Because if you can, I would get rid of your side seam and then add your elastic. The elastic will fight a lot less to gather up a section that doesn't have a seam, if that makes sense. So, all right. So let's see here. Let's get cracking. Still worried about my microphone though. So both versions, so let me go over my 2 versions. So here's my 2 versions. We have this one here, which is like the brown one I showed you, right? And this is the one, my white one. Now you could do this type of sleeve with this type of hem, and this type of sleeve with this type of hem. So the sleeves are interchangeable for these styles. Everything else is going to be the same. If you're going to leave it unhemmed, you can skip one step as well. So I'm going to try and sew both today. I already pre-sewed one shirt so that we could save some time. So let's say you just already have a little t-shirt pattern. You could try just sewing it up without doing any changes, but I'm going to tell you one change I think you should do, and I think you should lengthen the center front, and I'm going to show you exactly how. So all I did here was I overlocked my shoulders, my sleeves onto the garment, my side seams. I gathered up the little side seam here, which I'm going to show you how. And then I didn't hem my edges. I just locked them with a really narrow overlock. So if you have a marrow, or what's the other term for marrow? Is it narrow hem? What's it called on a serger? Rolled hem. If you have the rolled hem setting on a serger, you can do this. but I just use a really narrow serger. I'm going to show you those settings as well, because you don't really want to hem any edges, like fold up and hem any edges that are going to have the elastic. You want the elastic to have the best chance to gather things up, and a hem's going to be a little too thick and a little too hard for it to scrunch up. Now, yeah, lettuce would be another term. I always call it marrow. Thread the elastic inside. You could, yeah, but a casing might be really thick on the side seam. If you used this kind of elastic, you might be able to get the side seam to gather it, but it will fight a little harder. It just depends on your knit. This brown one's like a tissue knit, like it's really lightweight, whereas this is just an interlock. It's an organic cotton interlock with spandex in it. I also wanted to tell you that the brown one here, none of the elastic edges are finished at all. It's a raw edge. The brown top is old and tatty, Julie. You're gonna have to make it. Old and tatty, you can't have it. So there's a lot of options here. And knit does not unravel. You don't actually have to finish the edges. You can just leave them raw. And I have finished them because I know you want to do that. All right, so let me get to the pattern drafting. All right, so everybody is going to want to do a couple of things. This is my front, so I've traced off my front here. I didn't leave myself much paper here, which is kind of a bummer. I can't believe I did that after all the prep I did. And I don't have a pair of scissors here. Not the right kind. So I'm gonna trim this off real quick. Everybody's going to do this to their top because we're going to need a little extra length in the center front right here to accommodate the gathering of the elastic so that your hem doesn't like ride up, right? So we need to do that. So I'm gonna use a red marker for my changes. Now we're gonna lengthen our seam allowance about 1.5 inches here. Now I'm putting this top, this is already at a length that I want. So for this one here, we'll leave this one unhemmed. And I'm just gonna do the same thing on both so you can see the difference. You can see that white one it's right at my waist, whereas this brown one goes down to my hip, right? So there's a big difference when you add the elastic to the bottom. That elastic, if you add it to the bottom, it's gonna snap up to the narrowest place on you. That shearing elastic, you don't control how much it's stretching. So you have a lot less ability to predict how much it's going to draw up the fabric. That's why I say do some tests. And when you do your tests with your shearing elastic, make sure you're doing it on the same, like do it on different grain lines, you know. Hey Leah, how's it going? Hi, Sylvia saying hi. All right. So we're going to add 1.5 inches here on the side seam because we want to gather this up a little bit, kind of blending in this length in the front. And we're gonna add 3 inches in the center front here. So we're gonna extend our center front fold down here. Make sure we have a right angle right here. And now we just wanna blend these two together best you can, something like that. It won't show when we're all done. And now we're gonna keep our side seam going like this so that we have that right angle right there as well. And we have a nice smooth transition when the back lines up to it, just like this. Now, the side seam does not match the back right now because we're gonna gather this up. So I want you to put a couple of notches here. So we're gonna put them like, we're gonna put them 3 inches down from the armhole, and I'm just going, it can be rough, it's fine. And let's say we'll do it 5 inches up from the hem, right? So we're gonna put a notch right here. So this is 3, this is 5, this is 3 inches down, this is 1.5 inches down, all right? And this is our front. All right. Now let's go to the neck here. Wait, let me get my lists here. I have a little list. Make sure you're everything, I don't miss anything because I'm trying to do 2 versions at once. This is this is my ruler that I use to draw lines against. This is my drafting ruler. Can you see the difference? This makes it so that when I go like this, Leah, like say I want to measure this armhole, right? I go like this. Do you see it left all this stuff behind? The other thing is that this ruler makes my hands really dirty. So I use the clean ruler to measure and to just to measure basically. And I use this one to draw against. So I always have one. And usually I write on this one, grain. So I know, but it's pretty obvious to me. You hate the sound of the pin. Alcohol. Oh, that's good. All right, so for your neckline, now, like I said at the beginning, one of the things about this blouse is if you are putting elastic down the front, it's going to pull your scoop neck down. You can have a gentle V as well. You know, you could do something like this, more V-shaped. That's fine. I want this right here to be about, we're gonna have to kind of guess, but we're gonna say about 1.5 inches above where we want it to end. So if you made your t-shirt before and you sort of know where it ends on you and you're like, okay, that's the perfect spot. This is exactly where I want this blouse to be. I want you to raise it up about 1.5 inches. If it's too high, is it 1.5 inches above where you want it to be? So find that spot. If you want it really low cut, you could do this. This shirt can be really saucy if you have a really fitted t-shirt and a lower cut. You could do it in like a velvet and it would be pretty saucy and fancy, you know? All right, a stretch velvet, by the way. You honestly, you could do all of this to a woven top. I almost did this and I was like, you can't do 3 things at once, Jeremy. So I almost did a lightweight lawn, you know, like maybe pulling out a woven t-shirt like the one by Merchant and Mills, I can't remember the name of that, or the Scout or something. If you have a woven t-shirt, maybe you made it in a really lightweight lawn and did some of this, especially with a little ruffle at the bottom. I think that'd be really cute. So, all right, so you want your neck right here, the cut to be 1.5 inches above where you want it to end, right? And it can be a V or a scoop. The fit of this t-shirt is, I don't know how to describe it. It's not a boxy style t-shirt, right? We're not talking about the kind that when you sign up for a 5K, they give you as part of your package, right? It's not a boxy cut. So my armhole is sitting a little bit higher up than a traditional t-shirt. You know, it's more, you know, when people market these and sell them, they call it a women's t-shirt or a feminine cut or something like that. So I don't really want to apply those labels, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to go for here. I'm going for a little closer of a fit. It's not big and boxy and loose. And the armhole is a little seated on your arm. So you have to tie them into the navel. Of course you would. All right, so for our back, we don't need to do any changes, but we're going to add some notches so that we know where these go. So let's put this, I might change, now that I do this, I might change where I want these to be. So yeah, so if we could spread the gathers out a little more. So this little 1.5 inches right here, we're just gonna ease that in between these two here. That's what we're going for. Why does this look, did I already do this to this pattern? Look at that. Oh, that's really funny. I think I got ahead of myself on this. Wait a minute. How did I do that? Oh, wait. Wait a minute. Things were going so good. This is my t-shirt, isn't it? Well, shoot dang. Let me just look at this real quick. Here's my knit t-shirt. Oh yeah. And then I shortened it. My knit t-shirt. So that should be the same. But this isn't my knit t-shirt. That's my knit t-shirt. Oh, okay. I shortened this. That's why. I shortened this. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. This was just a preference of mine. You don't have to do this. I had just shortened my top because I didn't want it to be really long. That's it. And I just didn't apply it to this. So we'll just apply it really quick. You don't have to do this. You can just follow exactly what I've been talking about. All right, so we have this, and then we have our 1.5, and so we just need to fold this out a little bit here. Just gonna shorten it a little bit. Don't worry about all this. I did one of those classic things where I used the finished one. We really want that. You know what? Actually, I'm just going to lengthen this. Let's not go shorter. But we don't want to go that long. That's so funny. Wait, oh, I'm sorry. What did you mean by slightly seated on the arm? No, I just mean like you don't really, I'm basing the fit of this. This is gonna work the best on a garment that has not a dropped sleeve. So you want that armhole to be, closer to where your arm joins the body rather than it being dropped and loose and really boxy, right? I mean, picture adding all of this like frilly stuff to something that's super straight and boxy shaped. You can do that if you want, but I don't think you're going to get the effect you want, and it's going to be a little like over large. I'm looking for a little scoop tee that is closer fitting. If you're in the guild, I put a post yesterday with a long list of t-shirt options. All right. I knew one of these I wanted to be full length, so we're just going to do that rather than shorten it. All right, so we are pretty much ready with this one. So this is going to be our set-in sleeve one. Back, ruffle top, set in. Now you could use your little sleeve as is. So here's my little sleeve. Remember that you're going to want to trim off the hem. If you are going to put the elastic around the hem, you don't need to fold it up. Same with the bottom. If you plan on adding the elastic to the bottom to give it that little blousey shape, you need to remove any hem allowance that you have there. So that's my little sleeve. So here we go. And then we're going to need that sleeve if we want to do the version with the little cap sleeve. This back is the same way. So let's pretend like my back is longer. What I did was I traced my actual knit top, not my pattern, my original pattern. So I had like a hybrid thing going on here. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to gather down the center front. we're gonna add our 1.5 inches to the side. We're kind of doing the same thing, right? We're gonna make sure we have our right angle there. Blend it to the center front. Let's add our side notches. And our notches, and then that way we're going to gather the front to the back in the same place. I need to change my notch on my other one. So basically that little extra 1.5 inches right there is going to get gathered between here. It's barely going to show, by the way. It's just something to kind of pick up the shirt, kind of assist it in holding up the weight of the shirt because it's longer and because the gathers are really going to scrunch it up. And so what happens is this scrunches up a lot, and over here nothing's helping it scrunch up, right? So we're just trying to sort of ease it onto the back, right? And you don't really need the scrunching in the front. The scrunching's on in a way sort of taking the place of shaping in lieu of darts or princess lines, which we don't usually add to knits, right? So that's kind of one of the great things about it. All right, so now we have this little sleeve. I'm gonna fold up my pattern just to get it out of the way so I can have it right side up in front of you on the camera. Right side up in front of you on the camera. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. And we're going to do a little bit of quick and dirty drafting. So I want you to take your little sleeve, right? And we're going to do a cut on. I don't think I've ever drafted a cut on sleeve on camera. This is not perfectly the proper way to draft a cut on. We're kind of doing a little quick version of it because we can get away with doing this with knit. And I don't know what pattern you're using. Or what size it is, or how big of an armhole it is, what your sleeve looks like. So I'm gonna give you kind of, you know, the ballpark version of this. So, all right, so I'm gonna fold my sleeve in half, and I have a forward, shoulder adjustment on this. So that's why I'm folding it off center, just so that the curve right here is the same. You don't have to do that. All right, and we're gonna fold our little sleeve. And where's my dirty ruler? We're going to draw in our seam allowance on the shoulder and extend that line out like that. All right, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit too. Zoom in. Doing this little sleeve isn't gonna be hard either. And then we'll be cutting it out and we're gonna be able to sew soon. All right. So here we have that extension, right? So now we're going to line up the sleeve. So here is the seam allowance on the cap of the sleeve and the cap of the shoulder. We're going to line those up and line that fold line. That fold line it's roughly where if you have a notch that goes to the shoulder, that's what you're lining up. But it's okay. You don't really need to be perfect and precise about it because we're not keeping the sleeve as is, right? We're kind of drafting it onto the garment. And you can see we already have this big like hole here. Let me see if you can see the difference, right? So one thing we're gonna do is we're going to lift up the shoulder just a little bit. So I want you to draw, I'm gonna draw in well, I actually don't have any seam allowance on my neck because it's gonna ruffle. It's another place we need to remove seam allowance. And if you don't, that's okay, because there's usually so little on the neck that when it ruffles, it kind of takes it up since it doesn't stick out very far. It's not like a 1-inch hem, which might add a little bit of unnecessary length, like to a sleeve or something. All right, so we're going to raise this up. I'm just gonna raise it up like a fat 1/8 of an inch. So let's figure that out in millimeters here. Because basically, it's going to be like 10625 and I'm trying to do some quick math here. Yeah, like 5 millimeters. So go 5 millimeters. I'm basically going 3/16 up, right? There. like that. And now we're going to connect the neck to that and just draw it straight up. Now line up your sleeve to that. And, I mean, gosh. Yeah, line up your sleeve to that, just like that. And I want you to draw in, like take out your seam allowance of your underarm here. I'm gonna fold up my sleeve along that line and draw that right there. And I want you to draw your sleeve, just like that. All right. The reason we do this little pick up here is to give ourselves a little bit more mobility when we're using the garment, mainly because we've taken away the articulation of the sleeve, because we've, you know, that, remember that huge oval we had right here? Think of that as like a dart, right? And the closer fitting something is, the more mobility your arm is going to have. And we just removed that. We just basically said, here is a cardboard box to put your arm through. Worse, we just said, here is 2 flat pieces of paper to put your arm through. Now be as functional as a 3-dimensional sleeve, and it's not, right? Because we just took away all hopes of 3 dimension. So this is why we kind of give it a little bit extra there. So now I want you to redraw your seam line here parallel. So I'm going to match it at my neck point and go straight parallel to that line. Now right here, we're going to blend this in here. And I'm actually going to come up to the armhole like this and then go out like that. I'm going to stay very close because we're going for a very kind of sassy little cap sleeve, right? So the true definition of cap sleeves is when the sleeve isn't a full sleeve. So the armhole, it would look like this, right? So that's the little sleeve, right? It doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the armhole. You see this a lot in kids wear. And we want something a little bit more coverage. Like I really personally like my armpit to be covered, you know, when I'm planning on wearing something that has a sleeve. And this is going to be a little easier to sew than something like that. So we're going to do that. And now we can kind of connect this. I'm kind of trying to decide, like, how long do I want this? This is my shoulder point. I'm going to go with like a 5-inch length right here, something like that. We can even make this a little shorter. I'm sort of sketching out. Actually, let's see. Let me do my pencil real quick and get a shape I like. I'm thinking maybe, I wonder if I want to go a little further down so that's past my side seam. My shirt is looser than the blouse, that brown blouse, right? The brown blouse was a fitted look. So I think we can go a little longer. I'm going to go like 1 inch past my side seam here, like here. And sort of curve it around like that. All right, so let me get a black ruler here. So I ended up going with that right there. And that for me is, it's like 6 inches from the finished armhole there. And that's because I'm kind of going for something about 1 inch past my side seam here so that I have a bit of an underarm here. Like I said, quick and dirty. We're doing very quick and dirty sleeve maths. So now I'm just connecting these and kind of winging it right here so I get a right angle at that point right there. So follow the black line. Sorry, it's a little messy. Something like that. You can even drop this down a little bit too. If you don't want something so snug around your arm or your bicep. Hi Rachel, how's it going? So if you want something a little looser, you can already see, is this looking more like a dolman you're familiar with? So you can really play around with some of the shapes. You can come down like this, go like this, right? Let me cover up some of this red here so it's not so confusing. I think that when we calm down some of the crazy stuff happening here, it's going to help a lot too. At least it helps me. A lot of these little sleeves, if they're really, really close fitting, see, this is the thing, is like I could try on that brown shirt and with my more like mature pattern drafting sense, analyze the fit of that and find a lot of things I don't like about it, right? But hindsight is the mother of all, you know, smoothing things out and making you have a good memory of it, right? The right angle is needed because when we sew the front to the back, we're going to want a smooth transition, right? Let's cover up this down here because I'm going to go with this little higher one here. So in other words, anytime you have a seam, why is my mouse engaging with things? Okay. You're not making this now. Hi, Danny, how's it going? All right, so now we have the sleeve. I actually don't really like, now that I've calmed all that down, we're gonna sort of, well, no, I'm gonna stick with that. I don't want any weird little like angles right at the top there. You can measure this and go, all right, if this was, so this is one thing you can do, go, all right, this right here, yeah, I'm not really liking how far that comes out. These will always look really weird on paper, so let's look at it this way. This right here is 7 inches out, so if I put this 7 inches out, that's about right here, right on my arm. And now if I measure my arm around at that spot, always give yourself context. I get 13. So now if I measure this on the seam line, that's like 6. In the front and in the back, it'll be a little longer. That will probably work. But we could give ourselves a little bit more room since we're going to add the elastic. So maybe we do want to leave some of this down here. So I'm just sort of trying to sculpt my sleeve here. Something like that. These always look really weird. I want to look at this from the back. I have a really far in armhole too. So we're doing sort of like this hybrid cap and dolman with the armhole there. All right, so we're gonna leave that like that. And now we're gonna draft our back. So let me cut this out. So when we go to sew this shoulder seam to the back, we want a right angle here, because if we didn't have a right angle right here, we'd get a point, right? And you'd end up just trimming that off anyway, so why wouldn't we just do the right angle right now? Otherwise, you're sitting at your sewing machine going, what do I do with this point? Is that where I want to be? Do I try and use it? And you won't use it, so we try and do this at a right angle. And then same with the underarm here. Because this side seam is going to go to the back, we need a right angle is there as well. So I'm sort of pull it down like that. That's my little sleeve right here. Okay. Now we're going to pick up our shoulder on the back, just like we did on the front, right? So I'm gonna do it that 5 millimeters. I'm just gonna go straight above my cut line. And now I'm going to lay my front on top of my back. And we're gonna trace this off just like that. We're going to lay our side seam on here, and remember your front side seam is 1.5 inches longer, so you want to line it up where the shoulder line, or I'm sorry, the armhole was matching before. Something like that. My front looks longer. Let's pull this down a little bit. Maybe we can pull this up a little bit more. I'm trying to give my back armhole a little bit more length, so I'm just going to pick this up a little bit. Oops, oh my gosh. I gave myself a little, like a 1/4 of an inch more. So right here, remember, you want to line up your front 1.5 inches lower than the back, like that. Remember, because we added this little bit. Or if you can see your underarm juncture here, line it up on top of the back and line it up there, and then trace this shape there. And get your back sleeve. I'm thinking right now, maybe I will straighten this out a little bit like this. That'll give me more circumference. And I like the way that looks a little better, and I can get a right angle really easily as well. Something like that. Yeah, I like that idea. Let's trim off a little bit of this. Trimmed off about 7/8 of an inch. This is definitely not how I would draft for a client. We're dealing with knits, and we're going quick. So I kind of know what will work and what won't work. All right, so let's cut this out. All right, so now we have our built-on sleeve. The great thing about this top, you don't have a neckband, you don't have to do hems, you don't have to cut any other pieces. You just need your front, your back, and if you're doing a sleeve, you need your sleeve. This is on the fold, so I always do a wiggly line like this when something is on the fold so that I don't forget when I blade on fabric. This is just a weird thing I had to do because I kept cutting things out, because when I had worked in the garment industry, we would never have had a pattern if it was cut on the fold. We would always, in fact, I worked one place where you would get fired if you didn't. You always had to make the full pattern piece. Neck bands, fronts, backs, and let me tell you, that was before everyone was using computers, and so those pattern hooks would get so weighed down the manila, you're just like holding this like 14 sizes and all these pattern pieces. But when I started sewing for myself at home and trying to save on paper when I was paying for myself, like the manila, I kept making the mistake where I would lay the pattern piece on there. And because it wasn't open like this, cut on the fold, like open pattern piece, I would just cut it right down the middle. And so I had to do this little thing for myself. So yeah, every transition, I harp on this constantly. Like Fittopedia is half me harping on this and half me not harping on it. Every seam transition has to be at a right angle. I know it may not look like sometimes you'll have like, oh. In fact, I just saw this on a garment. Sometimes you'll have a garment where, let's say this, like the Style Arc Tegan. I don't know what the top looks like. It's a dolman. All right, so here is the silhouette of the top, right? This is not the side seam. The side seam goes like this, comes across to the front, right? So the pattern piece for this is like this right here is the front, right? And then the back has this onto it, right? So when you sew this pattern piece here, like at the end, that wouldn't be at a right angle. But when you lay the back on there, it is at a right angle. But it's just very hard to detect because it's a transition. So when you lay the back on here, you get this nice smooth transition. That's the priority. But anytime you have a seam, right angle, right angle, right angle, right angle, right angle, right angle, if that was a seam. So always, always, always. Like it's one thing you cannot not do, because you will be trimming it off at the sewing machine when you go to sew it. Because if you don't have a right angle, like say this armhole, this shoulder was sewing to the back, and it was like this, and this one was like this, right? Right there, and you sewed that together, you can. And if you see this a lot in crotch joins where the front rise and the back rise meet and they go like this, and you have to trim that off. Let me tell you, that's not good. When you see that, you should check it before you cut out your jeans and stuff, because if you've put a lot of effort into your fitting and then you're trimming off that little like whoop-de-doo there, it can change some of the things you fit. I'm not saying that should be there. You have to trim it off. You aren't shaped like that. So you're going to be trimming it off at the sewing machine. And if you were doing a lot of your fitting based on measurements, which a lot of people are really, really focused on, just using measurements and not like a muslin or something, they will measure that, and then you do that, and then you're just trimming off a 1/4 inch and a 1/4 inch, and you've lost a 1/2 inch in length, and you're like wondering what happened, and blah, blah, blah. So, hi Terry, how's it going? Okay, so ruffle top with cap sleeve. Front. I have not been doing this very much lately, and this is fold. Fold. I should rename my channel to Quick and Dirty Drafting. All right, so let's see. I talked to you about the neck being 1.5 inches higher than where you want this to end up. And that's just kind of a ballpark. If you're at all modest, add a little bit. Remove your hems anywhere you do not plan on folding up a hem or using a seam allowance. Like remove the seam allowance along the neck, remove your hem allowance along the sleeve if you plan on doing the elastic. Like you can just hem your sleeve. You can just sew it on and hem it. You don't have to add the elastic. If you're not a ruffle person, you could just do a blouse that has a hemmed neckline with just the ruching up the top or up the center, and with no other things, and it wouldn't be ruffly. It would just be contoured, right? We have our notches here at the side seam because we're going to be easing the front to the back. We have shoulder and sleeve ideal. We modified our sleeve, removed hem circumference, and we did the cap sleeve. All right, and let me look at this other checklist here. So this cap sleeve, what's really interesting about this brown one is that they put elastic around the hem, obviously, to kind of cinch it in. But the other thing they did, which was really interesting, was in lieu of an armhole, they put a piece of elastic right here. And it gives the shirt a lot of like stability. It's kind of cool. You don't have to do that. I'm not planning on doing it, but it is an option. You will feel these sleeves on you, by the way. That is one thing. Every time I put it on, I'd be like, ugh, you know. If you have sensory issues with elastic, pick an elastic that doesn't bug you. All right, if you, elastic front stop. Okay, so when I do this hem here, I am doing it so that the shearing stops before we get to the bottom. I'm finding that I like the way it looks because you can see, like, well, this one's really tired now. Sorry, my mic's gonna go quieter. But you can see maybe what'll happen is this will pull up like this, right? Like that. When you're wearing it, it'll do that. So it's another reason I stopped the elastic here. This elastic is very tired. We're talking about a very, very old top, by the way. Like very old. 15 years or more. So, where am I at? All right. You can just hem as usual. Like I said, you don't have to do any of the elastic. And you can also leave the edges raw if you want. I think that's cool. Front elastic stops before waist, elastic ruffle hem. Okay, let's do it. Let me just cut this out here. I've already cut this one out. Let me just move my pieces. I really tried to find a fabric that you could see better. I'm really sorry, you guys. I only have white. Like, I tried hard to find another fabric to cut these in so you wouldn't be staring at white all day. Because I know how bright it is. Oh, wait, I already folded this. Let's be careful. I already folded this to save ourselves some time. And I'm zoomed in still, too. This right here is a bamboo, what did it say? Bamboo interlock? Bamboo jersey? I got it hi Barbara, I was just thinking about you yesterday. I know you must be really busy this year. I was thinking about you because I joined one of the social Zooms in the guild, and every time I talk, it says you're about to raise your hand, and it reminded me of you. And I'm all, oh, I'm the Barbara of Zoom. You can turn that off now. I was so happy. Okay, so let's... Yeah, maybe I'll try this one with, ooh, I did not cut that very good. But that'll be fine though. That looks good. We're just looking for a nice transition there. All right, so we get our notches. Look at how easy this is to cut out, Julie. Just a front and a back. You sure you don't want to make it? That's our front. And I'll be able to tell because the neck is scooped. Bamboo, maybe, yeah, you know what? That might be what it is, actually. How'd you know that? Sometimes Needle Sharp sells their extra fabric, and I snap it up because she gets some good stuff. And I feel like it probably helps her out not to have to carry all this inventory of fabric, being that she's not a fabric store, right? So I put my knit on grain, I mean, it's knit, you know, and folded it, you know, like folded it like this with the selvages to each other. That's how I am doing this so quickly right now. I already had done that. The sleeve malarkey scared you? Well, I will walk you through it again anytime in workshop if you want. You can, one of the sleeves, or I mean t-shirts that I linked, had a little cut-on sleeve like this. It was the Wardrobe by Me one. You wouldn't have to do any of this. You could just cut and sew the elastic on. All right. Get rid of that. Add my notch. I hate notching knit. I really feel like I shouldn't be doing that. Here's my back. All right. Yeah, maybe this one will leave. If I'm going to leave it raw, I need to get rid of this weird little chunk that I just cut like this. All right. Because if you know, when it's a raw edge, you want it to be cut nice and smooth. I'm really curious to do this on a woven now. I'm looking for my mouse, sorry. All right, so let's move all these pattern pieces. So I have this one that I'm gonna finish sewing with you. I have this one. I'm gonna bring all my elastic over. Still looking for my mouse, here it is. My water, keyboard. We need everything. And let's go over, bring this too. Light linen, what? Knit? Linen knit? Face is really zoomed. All right, so did my mic go down again? I'm wondering why. Oh, I don't have this light on. No woven? Oh, I don't know. I would have to test that for show. Oh, Terry says yes. Oh, you mean the mic is it went down?
Why? You know, I did whack something earlier and I thought, why did you do that, Jeremy? Now it's going to throw something off. This one is plugged to you. I doubt that helped. I wonder. All right, I'm going to try something. So, I guess mine just gets a little quieter sometimes. I'm going to try something. Wait, does this mic even end here? Wait, let me see here. Oh, I figured it out. Is that better? Did I fix it? Nice, Julie. That's interesting. Did I fix it? I did, okay. You didn't see me do my little pose, but I went. Okay. Yep, that was actually. It's funny, when Jen Stern and I get together and try and set up for like our collaboration YouTubes, sometimes I talk with her husband at the same time because all three of us are working on it. And he was trying to convince me once. He's like, you should totally do a series of videos on how to do this. And I was like, no, no way. But lately, it's like, because I like trying to figure it out, like this is what I've learned. What I have learned since streaming is that I have gotten, like, I've learned so much about sewing. Like, I'm not even talking about the streaming part. I've learned so much about sewing. When you teach someone something, you learn it in a different way. You learn it from a different angle and you learn it with different tools, right? And I'm not saying I'm great at that because I still think sometimes I'm a little too far ahead in whatever I'm saying. You know, I've skipped steps for people, but I know that if I did a little series on like, if you want to stream picture in picture and you're just kind of low key like me, this is how I do it. I know I would learn something more. And so it's tempting because I have learned now, like it used to kind of scare me like, oh gosh, I haven't done one of those in a long time and they really want me to do that. And I know how, but could I really explain it? And I cut out a couple and I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. Just like taking on the whole helping the fitting community on Sew Liberated has been so amazing for me. Like I already feel like I'm learning more. And so I didn't get nervous about that until like the second day I was doing it. And then I was like, what am I doing? Why do I think I can answer all these questions? What do I think I'm going to be? Like, what if I steer someone wrong? And but I enjoy it, and I learn. I'm learning different ways to look at things so that I can convey them in a straightforward and simple way. And it's interesting. So, sorry, that's just my little. All right, so I have on this little T here, I have already overlocked it together, and I finished my edge. So let me tone down the brightness even more. Sorry I didn't have a darker color. I tried, man. I really tried. Something not too dark. Oh yeah, there's a lot of questions in there. I think right now I have 12 notifications. Let's see.
I'm gonna look really quick because I didn't finish this morning. I have 10. So yeah. And you know, the more you answer, the more questions you're gonna get because people are like, oh cool, someone's replying to me. And someone always replies to everybody in there. Oh, did your top stitching get kind of wavy? Yeah, don't worry, it will. It does. Just like Terry said, it calms down. Okay, so this little shirt, I sewed my shoulders together with an overlock. I sewed my side seams together. And when I did, I just eased the front. This easing didn't show up much because I tried the differential on my sewing machine. And then sewed my side seams together, and then I put my sleeves on. And then I overlocked the edge, just a really narrow overlock. Now I'm gonna go over a lot of this with the overlock, but right now my machine is set up with the shearing elastic. So I thought I'd do the shearing elastic first in the places that I wanna do it. And you can see when you do this really dense edge here, if you slightly pull on your knit as you sew it, you get a gentle ruffling effect, even if you don't have a marrow or lettuce or rolled hem stitch on your machine. You can just use a straight up, really dense, narrow serge on the edge, slightly stretch. Only the things that are on the cross grain will work. Length grain will not go wavy, all right? So, yeah, exactly. Practice makes you better, yeah. Yeah. Those who can't teach. Oh, what a strange thing. I think, though, I know what you're talking about, Leah, because I felt like at my college when I was in design school, there were a lot of people who looked at the teachers there as if they had failed in the garment industry and they were just resorting to teaching. And there were quite a few teachers there that were so good. I will never forget my pattern drafting teacher, Mrs. Tellefson. She was so good. I loved her accent. I don't know what her accent was. She was American, but she had maybe like some accent back east. And she was just so proper in her like how she taught us to do things and tradition. Such a good teacher. And there was only like one teacher I was like, why are you here? And another one where I was like, you should not be here, because they just were really terrible to the students. And she's still there, by the way. She made me pass out in class. But anyway, I was really thankful that they picked teachers who had accomplished things, you know? All right, so on this little shirt, I was about to do them. I'm going to show you how to do all the edges if you want, right? So you could, like I said, leave these edges raw, right? The hem. But what I did, I just sewed like about a ½ inch away. So you could put this up higher, right? So let me look at that. There's a lot of things you can do with this. You can have a lot of fun with this. Let me turn it right side out, right, again. Maybe I should sew the other one together first so you have kind of a point of reference on how this goes together. Oh, and here's this one here. So see how this one I sewed the elastic probably less than a ½ inch away from the finished edge. So that's the kind of look I got, right? And I think on the hem, I did 2 rows about 1 inch away from the edge. So you can tell, like, if you had done this, say you made a much longer blouse, say you made this blouse more high hip, right? And then you can put your row of elastic higher up, and then this will give you more of a longer ruffle that hangs down. I think that's a really nice look. So, I don't know what you're talking about, Julie. So you can have fun with what you kind of want. You could make your blouse really long, try it on, and kind of cinch it with a piece of twill tape or something, or a piece of elastic tied around you. And then see here, I just stopped before I got to the waist there. So there's no elastic right there. All right. Oh, you know what? We need like a little crease on our center front. What should we do first? Or would you like me to sew the shirt together first? Yeah, like a peplum. Yeah, exactly. I would have liked that on this one. This one's pretty short on me. Like my pants are some of them are kind of high rise, some of them aren't, you know. So it feels a little short to me. Let's go to the iron actually. Oh, I don't think I turned it on, but let's go to the iron. I'm going to make myself a crease down the center front right here. Turn it inside out. Find my front, which is the lower neck. I'm just going to nest them together. So I'm putting my shoulders together here. I have some pins. Lost my little cupcake that was there. I set my machine up for the bobbin elastic and I feel like I shouldn't have done that already. So I'm going to give you my tips on sewing the shearing elastic, and then we're going to take it out and I'm going to show you the other elastic ways to sew the elastic on, and also how to assemble the shirt with the shearing on the side. All right, so now I'm just lining up my side seam. You really want to make sure you spend some time getting this perfectly in the middle. You don't want this row of stitching to be, you know, off down the front of you, right? So I'm just going to iron it. If you have a marking that you trust, you could also, you know, draw your marking line on there. But I'm just going to give myself a very obvious crease. I'm not doing that at my full iron heat either. Nice shim. All right, so I stopped this one here about, it wasn't very far away from the bottom, about 3 inches. Maybe I'll do this one a little bit higher. So let's put it about right here. Actually, I want to do this on the right side. Something like this. I think this would be easier to do without putting your shirt together first, by the way. But you really need these hems in place if you're going to be doing, if you're going to add the serging hem, you're going to probably have to sew your whole shirt together. That's the bad news, right? If you're going to do raw, you could just do this to the front before you sew it all together and it'll be a lot easier. So I'm going to start from the bottom. Now when you sew your shearing elastic, I hand wind the bobbin, right? I hand wind it. You can see my little tail sticking out where I started. Hand wind it, like barely any tension while you're winding it up. If you look at the Franconia dress timestamp for the shearing elastic, I give a lot of tips there. I changed my seam stitch length to 3.5 or 4, so long. And I have found that I needed to, I think it was loosen the bobbin a little bit and tighten up the top, because my industrial doesn't really like changing threads when it's a different thickness. And so take a piece of scrap. Oh, I thought I had my piece of scrap here. Here's my piece of scrap, and try it out. The one thing that you can't not do is you have to pull your elastic up through the bobbin and make sure that it's visible up here. You need a long tail. You absolutely have to have a long tail, because remember, we're putting in the elastic and then it's going to be relaxed, right? So it's going to be scrunched up. Once we kind of steam it and kind of pull on a little bit, it's going to pull some of this tail. So make sure you have a nice long tail, and you also will need something to tie when you go to finish the edge, because we can't back stitch either, right? So let me do a little sample here. Make sure, and do it a nice even speed. and consistent. And when you get to the end, leave yourself a nice long tail. Pull your needle up where their thread take-up lever is at the top right here so that you don't unthread your needle by accident when you turn the wheel. I pull a nice long tail and I leave a long one on here and a long one on there. And then when we do that gentle tug, we can kind of feel it'll pull a little bit of that tail into it. All right, so we're going to start at the bottom. And the reason I'm going to start at the bottom is I'm going to go up to the top, across, and down. And the reason I start down here is because we might be able to see this up here. So it's nice to just go up, turn, come down, and we won't be able to see any of this messiness down, that it's down here, up there at the top. So I'm going to do a little further apart this time. I think I only did like a 1/2 inch apart last time. So let's see, let's bring this down a little bit. Maybe I'll go on this side of the, maybe I'll start a little higher. Yeah, it's about a 1/2 inch away. So let's do more like 3/4 inch away. You can do whatever you want. You could do just one as well, but I think you're going to find it works better with 2 rows. If you have a free arm, you're probably happy. Whoa, I did not want to. Slow down, buddy. I have clogs on today, and I haven't been wearing them for a while. So go straight across at the top. And straight down. It'll be a little ruffled, so you're going to have to kind of spread it apart like this. I can still see my crease. Just kind of flatten it out as you get there. This is one case where usually when I do shearing elastic, I always sew the same direction every row. So the parallel rows are going to be the same direction so that I'm not going against like this. But in this case, I wanted this to look nice up here at the top. All right, so now make sure you leave your long tail. Hi, Elena, how's it going? Really long because it stretches. Ooh, feels really bad when you do that too sometimes. All right, and now we're going to pull it to the back. So you can see my back here. And we're going to give these tails a little tug. And then we'll see the loop of our top thread there. Pull. And pull. And then tie them off. I'm kind of excited about the other one because I'm going to try the raw edge thing. But I'll show you my settings on my serger for the other. All right, there we go. Now, where else would you like to see? Oh, look at that. Maybe I shouldn't have tied it off quite yet. Oh, I shouldn't have tied it off quite. I'm sorry, don't tie it off yet. You should steam it. Give it a little tug. I'm so methodical sometimes. It'll be fine, but next time steam it. I'll show you on the others. Steam it, pull, give it a little tug, let it kind of pull a little bit of the elastic. It'll be fine, but it's a little scrunched. All right, so now let's see, what do we want? Let's do the hem, and we'll do the hem a little bit higher this time. Let's do it like, I'm gonna do it about right here, which is like a solid inch up. Maybe, 1/2, 3/4 of 1. I'm gonna do 1 1/4 up. I'm gonna start at the side seam, nice long tail. I haven't done serging in a while, sorry. I mean shearing. You know who's really good at bobbin elastic is Shalva. She gave me the greatest tip to, like when you do a lot of rows that are one on top of the other, that to not cut it at the end of every row. So smart. So now I do it that way, and I just go back and forth. because of the nature of the shearing elastic, I haven't had any negative effects with the, you know, like usually when you go down one side and you go up the other side, you can see it kind of doing this little like diagonal torque thing. With shearing elastic, it's so forgiving. And as long as the fabric's relaxed as it's going through, you're gonna be fine. It's just a single layer, you know? See, so this is a much longer ruffle. I could stop with one row. I think I will. I like the way this looks. It's gentle. Okay, let's leave the tail. This is the hardest part for me because I have an auto thread clip on my foot pedal. So I accidentally always thread clip it. So I'm just gonna gently give it a little pull. We wanna steam it, and then we'll pull our threads to the back, tie them off and trim. All right, and let's do the neck. Again, I always start at the shoulder so I can hide everything. Pull this tail a little bit more. I think on the other one, I will do this shearing elastic right on the raw edge of the neck. I really want to see what that looks like. If you already have like a store-bought t-shirt, you could just cut the hems off and do this to it. There you go, Julie. That's what you should do. Just buy a t-shirt, cut the hems off. I say cut the hems off because the elastic may fight to be able to draw up a hem. It's really soft. Yeah, bamboo. I'm pretty sure Leah's right. Bamboo modal. You don't even have to be, you know, too much of a sewer, but I think shearing elastic, oh, now my stitch is too tight. Uh-oh. My stitch got too tight. Let's check it out. It could be where it's at in the bobbin. Just gonna rethread it a little bit. Pull up the tail. Always pull up the tail. Every time I did my little sample and I forgot to do it, I had to start over, so. All right, so you kind of got the hang of this. So let's go to our other shirt so that we can see how to sew this together. And I'll put the serger up here. And we'll also, will we? Yeah, let's try the mask elastic. So I'm just gonna put in a regular bobbin. Put these aside. I won't make you sit through me sewing the whole thing every time. Let me go get some scrap fabric so we can try out both these elastics, and I'll show you how I would sew each of them. Here we go, big piece. All right, so we have, do you guys have mask elastic still that you're trying to use up? You get a lot out of this package, by the way. If you buy shearing elastic, you get a lot. I bought a couple for a project, and I'm still, like, and I'd already bought one for another project, and I have so many of them. I think Christina said she bought like a bunch of it on closeout, so which is a huge roll. All right, so here's my mask elastic. This is what mine looks like. It's mostly rounded, you know, not like bungee. Bungee wouldn't be soft like this. Bungee has like a rubber core or a latex core, I think. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. This is more that, gosh, I don't even know how this is made. I don't really know much about this stuff. It actually feels like a knitted tube. All right, so when I sew this on, I would do it from the back side. There's only so many scrunches you need, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I still had some. Oh, let me sew a little. I have a ballpoint needle on, by the way. I forgot to mention that. I am using a size 14 ballpoint needle. But it looks really good. I'm going to take my stitch length. No, I'm just going to leave my stitch length. All right, so the trick with this is that you're going to have to stretch it while you attach it. And when you do anything like that, make sure that you stretch it, hold it that way, sew it, and then you can relax. Don't start sewing and then pull on it, because you might pull on your needle, breaking it, and you can throw your timing off. It's really bad. All right, so what's kind of cool, I tried this last night, is that this stays right between the toes of my feet. Let me zoom in for you guys a little bit. Come on, there we go. I'm so glad we fixed the volume thing. That was so easy. I had to think about it, but you know, that was the hard part. The pre-cut with the silicone bead on them. Oh, I don't know what those are. I might have to see a picture of that. All right, so the way I would figure this out for the bodice is I would figure out, okay, I want this to finish 10 inches long. I would cut my elastic probably 10 inches. After I do my little test, I'd see like how much is this stretching. So let's just do a little test. Let's say we're going to take a piece that is 9 inches, all right? And we'll sew it to a piece that's 12 inches. So let's just see kind of what we're getting, right? How much is it scrunching it up? Even if you don't understand how to interpret the data, you're gonna still get something out of it. You're gonna know like, oh, that didn't stretch it much, or it stretched it a lot. All right, so we're gonna put that on there. Oops, I missed. All right, so now I'm going to pull it to my other end here. I'm going to hold it stretched just like this. So I took a 9-inch piece to a 12-inch length of fabric, and now we're just going to sew it on there, holding it stretched. It's hard when you pre-cut the length because you have nothing to hold on to. Oops, I lost it. But we can see it's not gathering that much, right? So that means that maybe let's try a 6-inch piece. And I'm just gonna mark the 6 inches on here so that we know where to stop sewing. And I have something to hold on to. All right, so now this time I'm gonna hold the 6 inches down here. Maybe we can even pin it to the fabric like that, right? Let's do it straighter. So I have it like this. Oops, I lost it. So here's my 12-inch mark, right? So I'm gonna pull it here, like that. So we just have some kind of reference. I'm gonna hold it perfectly stretched, or not perfectly, but best I can. And then stitch it on. See if we get better stretch or scrunching. Now I can cut it off like this, and that looks a lot better, don't you think? I think that that looks a lot better. We could probably even do it more. So I'm gonna say you don't have to zigzag elastic on because we're stretching the elastic, so it's already like, in other words, the stitching happened at the full length, right? The full length of the stitch. So the elastic's pulling it together. It doesn't need to stretch beyond what we're sewing, but it can a little bit. So no, you don't have to zigzag it on. You can if you want, but it's not necessary, not in this case. If you were, here's the difference. If we attach this elastic without stretching it at all, we just stuck it on there, then you might have some trouble with popped stitches depending on how your machine is. Mine does pretty good. Like I can sew on knits with this, it's fine. But if you're not pre-stretching something, like you're not stretching it and attaching it, and it has to stretch after you've sewn it on, then you might get some pop stitches. So that's the difference. So let me get rid of that. All right, so let's, I think that what we can do is say, this is like a 25%. I need 25% the length, because if I go down further from 6 to 12, let's say we go to 4 inches. That's like, well, that's actually 30%, sorry. So 30%. So if I want my front to finish 12 inches, I would need a piece of elastic that's 4 inches, right? So that's kind of how we would look at it. All right, so now if you were going to use a piece of elastic, like flat elastic, that's really narrow, I mean, you probably could use something this wide. You just might feel it more on the inside of the garment. So I have a knot. This is probably tied around my waist or something for like measuring. I don't know. It's the only piece I have though. I would do the exact same thing. I would do the exact same tests, and you should pre-stretch your elastic. Pre-stretch it. You can't really pre-stretch it with the shearing elastic, but with both of these, I would stretch it first. Just stretch it, then attach it. Sorry, I'm telling you so many things and kind of out of order. That's how live streams are. So yeah, we'll pre-stretch this. So same kind of test, right? I would do the same kind of test, but I would sew this on the same way, where I would backstitch, stretch it, hold, and then sew it on like this. You can see it's going to be a lot easier to sew on. You're going to get a lot more stretch than mask elastic, right? So, and see even if I pull really hard, it's not going to pop. So, all right. So those are the 3 elastics we're going to use. I wish I had more of this. I would 100% use this if I had narrow stuff. All right, let's sew our shirt together. Oh, we're going to put in a little gathering stitch on the side seam of the front, which is this one here. And we're just going to put it between our notches. You can do it. You don't have to do zigzag or anything. It doesn't need to stretch. We're going to make it stay like this. Probably use my shearing foot. I don't know. Can I use my shearing foot on this? You could do more shearing here on the side seams too. Like I only gave you like 1.5 inches to get in here. It's barely, you really could probably just do it without a shearing stitch like this, without a easing stitch. I would normally, so. There in the closet. All right, so this is probably too much gathers, honestly. We'll see. Let's do this side. I feel like there might have been a parade going through town earlier. I kept hearing honking. Now I'm hearing something weird out there. I thought those were tombstones, Julie. I was like, what? What is she doing now? Oh, it's crows. Oh, they're acting funny. I heard the turkeys gobbling today when I was getting ready. I love that sound. All right, so here's our front. I'm going to put it right sides together. Was the right side or this is the right side. This one's pretty easy to sew. We're gonna sew, in fact, we could do this so that we do our shoulders only. We put our elastic on the sleeve edge, then do our underarm seam, and then do whatever else you're going to do so that you don't have to do it in the round and your ends of your elastic will be encased in the underarm seam. It's just more back and forth between machines if you're using a serger. But you can zigzag this together too. You don't need a serger. All right, so let's put it over here. Ooh. I'm going to put it here today. if that's okay with you guys. Oh, I love that, Elena. They're so funny. We saw one doing its full mating dance the other day. I had not seen that here at this house yet. It was really cool. And the ladies had already like walked way far away. They were like, we're getting a snack, buddy. Leave us alone. All right, so let me show you some of the stitches I have going on here. So for my, can I save this piece of elastic? Maybe not. Let's just cut it off. So when I made that really narrow stitch, so this is the length grain of the fabric right here. So I have it still set, I'm pretty sure on that. Let's see. Yeah. Let me get it set up. Okay, yeah, so I don't have it set up right now. All right. So we're going to change our stitch length. I think that this knob is so confusing. I have to see what it did. I could interpret it going either way, you know what I mean? Oh no, that changed it. Oh, but it's too wide. Okay. Okay, buddy. No. Yeah, that's what I want. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Oh my gosh. All right, so let me change my stitch length. We've got my stitch length down. So you want your stitch length to be shorter so you get a nice dense stitch. I can't see the chat. All right, so this would be like a wider version. Where's the camera? There we go. See that? So I made it really dense, but it's still kind of wide. And so your width right here will change the cut width of the fabric. So if the fabric is cut too narrow, it'll look like this, right? You'll get all these loops on the end because the fabric is being cut too small to fill up inside there, the threads, right? So you can fiddle around with these right here as well to change your tension if you're getting the loopiness. And then you can change your cut width here to change that. So now if you have the rolled hem feature, mine right here is, I can't see what you can see right now. Mine's right here, right here. This little lever pulls it this way and it will create more of a rolled hem type of look, or marrow or something, whatever you call it. Lettuce. Let's try that. Mine always gets hung up on the back though, so I have to kind of pull the tail a little bit and get it going. And you'll get a little, kind of a denser edge there. And this was on the cross grain. You see I didn't pull the fabric, but you can see it's starting to wave. Now if I did pull it, let's see if I can get this. I'm finding that when I use this feature, sometimes it gets really hung up back there. And what I'm finding is if I put the fabric all the way back, I'm gonna cut this off actually too. It kind of helps grab it better, and then the fabric, the thread doesn't get hung up in there. All right, so let's try that. And now I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna pull on this, and now sew. And once I can grab back here, I'll hold that too. it'll be a lot wavier. See how much wavier it got? So that's because it's on the cross grain. On the length grain, it won't do that. So just so you know, if you're like, why don't I get this nice waviness? So, because some sleeves, like the dolman will be on the length grain, the sleeve hem, so it won't do that wavy thing. We'll definitely need the elastic. All right, so let's sew this together. I'm gonna put this all back to normal and do a test. Before I start sewing. So this time at first you can see my fabric, see how it is kind of scrunched in there. It's like this in there. So then I increased or decreased the cut width. So then it was cut shorter and it filled it in perfectly. So let's see the difference. I went over this in the Serger Confidence SBS last year, but that you can adjust this as you're sewing. It even says it in the manual, which is kind of helpful. All right, I'm gonna do it a little bit smaller. And now let's do our shoulders together. And then we'll do the elastic on the hem. So these are just the shoulders of the cap sleeve. I'm just making sure it's right sides together. It's really hard to tell. Sorry for the white fabric. Yeah, that's true, Barbara. If you use one needle on the hem, she's right. It'll be a lot nicer. You'll get a better wavy thing. Thank you so much for reminding me of that. I have mine set up right now for 4 thread so that I can do seams as well. See, and then got a nice seam. Let's do this side here. Wish the air conditioning would just kick on. It would just know. Oh, that's funny, Mullen. There was a store in Eureka, it probably is still there, and they had guard geese there too, and they were nasty. This is like, Eureka is the big city of Humboldt. It's still not very big. It's like probably 30,000. And this was in like the old town where they try and attract the tourists to come. And it's often the only place you'll find parking. So you're parking by this building and these geese just kind of come at you at the fence. All right, so now I'm gonna set my serger aside. We can do this and do this and brighten it up a little bit. And I'm gonna put the mask elastic on there. I always think when I do a project like this, I'm like, okay, this one's simpler. And then as I'm doing it, I'm realizing there's so many details. All right, so I'm gonna put my mask elastic over here in this spindle. And I'm gonna eyeball mine. I'm just gonna pull it really hard. Actually, on the sleeve, I'm probably not gonna pull it too much. Oh, and we want to do this on the wrong side. And again, I'm doing a, oh, let's secure this here. Oh, I should have done my nice little, oh. I have a nice little tutorial for you guys on how to do your serged ends really nicely. And it's stuck in my editing software. It won't let me edit it right now. I'm kind of stuck right now with editing. I can't edit any videos. So I'm just going to secure my end there like that. But you could do a nice tail finish on your serging. So I'm just going to secure it like this because I'm going to leave it raw. Get rid of all these threads. Make it look as nice as possible first. All right. I'm not going to pull too hard on my sleeve. I don't want to be too tight on my sleeve. That's one thing I never really liked about that top, was how tight the sleeves were. Back stitch there. Get the garment all the way up here, and this is the back. Okay, good. Okay. So I'm just going to gently pull it as I sew. Look at that. That was not a right angle. Why is this not drawing off? Oh, I think I had a little elastic catastrophe with this thing. Look at it. Sheesh. I'm just going to cut a big piece off right now. It was stuck. I was not very consistent about this elastic. I was pulling it a lot more at the beginning. Oh, I could have pulled it a little bit more, I think. Let's trim this a little better. We're experimenting, aren't we? I'm going to secure that again. I could have pulled that a little tighter. You're learning with me. Let's try the other one. See, there we go. That's a perfect example that I didn't get my right angles nicely. I got a right angle there, but I didn't check the transition. That's the problem. Here we go. So we're going to get rid of this. You've been practicing the flip? Nice. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting pretty good at it. Sometimes my machine will not do very good on, say, when I approach a 90, the end when it's not a blunt end. So, say like an angled fly shield, it doesn't like that, and it won't enclose the little tip of it, the point. All right, so let me pull on this a little more this time and more consistently now that I have my right angle. I love it when I make a lesson of myself. All right, so I'm gonna pull this a lot more. We'll see the difference. I can take the other one out really easily. So I'm trying to keep it very even to the hem. I was trying to keep my presser foot lined up to this edge right here, the fabric edge right there. That looks a little better. What I'm noticing is the back, right after I go over the shoulder, I sort of slack on my stretching. Oh, it's too bright. Where is it? There it is. There we go, like this. See how it's a little flatter right there? I went over the shoulder seam, and then sometimes, you know, when you readjust, you might not be pulling it the same, and then you remember. That looks pretty cute right there, though, and that's the raw edge. I like that. And this looks like this on the inside. I'd be happy with that. So let's pull this one off really quick. That's the good news, is that it won't be too hard. I'm still using a longer stitch length. It's harder just to see the stitches, honestly. And that I did a back tack. I might be a little bit rough with it here. Just make it go quick. I had the hardest time I've had in a long time getting my needle threaded, that I had to change needle sizes. I figured that, because I'm using like a Tex 20, I'm using a Tex 40 thread. No, yeah, I am. I'm using a Tex 40 thread. I should be using a Tex 27 thread, which is more of like a standard weight. And it's because that's what I have. I have a lot of cones of Tex 40. So I use it for the most part, but it's more appropriate for like a size 16 needle. and I was trying to put it into a size 12, and I couldn't. It was just like, I couldn't even like find the hole with it. It was terrible. Switched to a 14. I had a little trouble, and I told myself, don't let the needle come threaded today. I probably would have been better served just to trim this off. Would have been fine. I wouldn't have noticed a 1/4 inch. Maybe I would have. Oh yeah, you forget to do the flip. Yeah, I have to be mindful of it too. You know, Terry, you can always start with the flip. So you start and you approach the end you want the flip on. So start like 1.5 inches away. Do the flip, and then you can just sew like normal, and then you don't have to worry about when you go off the edge. But yeah, I get it. Oh, really? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, well, Shem and I can tell you about the roosters and hens of Yuba City. If you're at the, there's like some fast food restaurants and something else, like maybe, I don't know what's there actually. I never stopped there. It's like a highway with a stoplight, you know? And there's like at least 50 chickens, baby chicks, all of them, right there in the median. Oh my gosh, I'm just gonna turn this off so I don't have to make you wait. There we go. Trim it to match a little bit. And it's really funny because chickens are so dramatic sometimes. So they have their own little, like, I don't know, their own little thing going on. It's fun. All right. I don't like how messy this is. Let's just trim it off better. I just keep trimming this down. Now I'm going to secure that seam again. Now trim these threads away. Now put the elastic on, and then we'll do our underarm. We'll try and remember to, oops, keep our tension even with the elastic, which right now I think is going to be a problem. There we go. You know, I feel like someone posted about that chicken. Man, if I had chicken boots still, I guarantee people would have been sending that to us. Because, you know, when you have a business named Chicken Boots, people think that you collect chickens, everything. We had so many little chicken doodads. I remember this one yarn dyer. I had gone to a show that she was at in Washington, and when I was driving home, I kept seeing missed texts and calls from her. I do not know her very well. She was kind of like parallel friends, you know. I knew her well enough to have her phone number because of like some group thing we had done, but I couldn't call her because I was driving and I was going through passes, so I was just like, what's happening, you know? Finally, I listened to the message because I pulled over. She's like, Sarah, I'm at Target and they have pajamas with literal chickens wearing boots. I want to know if you want them because I'm going to buy them for you and you can just pay me back at Stitches West since we're about to see each other in a few days. And I was like, okay. And then like the next message is like, I'm about to leave. Do you want them or not? You know, and then the next one's like, I just bought them for you. Because I just couldn't reply. And so I still wear those to this day. They're really cute. They're super soft. They're like knit. They're really cute. And they're just like little chickens, oops, wearing boots. What are the odds, you know? All right, so now we're gonna do our underarm on the one with the cap sleeve. I'm excited about this one because it looks the most like the original one that I had. I'm approaching that little gathered section, so now I'm just going to make sure that kind of hitting that target with the notches. That was actually pretty good. I actually did kind of get the gathering in there. Oh, let me make it less bright. I feel like I'm the only one invested in this project, and I'm totally fine with that. It's fine. Let's zoom out a little bit. This is what happens, you know. I start doing the things in my to-do list. I will tell you this Saturday I will be doing like a little color talk, which I'm pretty excited about. I'll have examples of hopefully every single kind of collar. I mean, not every, you know, like there's variations, but like the fundamental pattern types. And there's a little picture of that in the Instagram post, and if you go to the community tab on YouTube for my channel, you'll see it there too. And that's kind of like a little sneak peek of what I'll be helping out on with Fittopedia, because it's all going to be about the neck and shoulders. All right, so this might be a little fussy to get through with all this elastic sitting here. So we're gonna, oh yeah, it didn't cut right there. I missed that. Ooh, sneaky. Why didn't you cut that? I may have to clean that up. I think it did cut it. Okay. I'm gonna pull this little tail here that's messy into the garment like that, and we're gonna stitch it in there because that's not acceptable. All right, let's do our other side and see if we can prevent that. Exactly, Barbara. Bye, Elena. Nice seeing you. Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm doing collars too. It's like, I don't always have sponsored streams, and I don't know. I don't think you all want to sew all the things that I want to sew. So we'll do collars Saturday. And I'm just going to kind of show you, like, this is how this collar is, and this is what the pattern pieces would look like, so you can kind of detect it. And then also show you examples. I think there's basically nine collar types. I think I counted it, because I said something flippant the other day, like 15, if you want me to make 15 different shirts with collars, because someone said, you're gonna make shirts with all the collars, and no, I'm not. I'm gonna make the collar for you and I'll show you. And there's a lot of confusion with like what a convertible collar is, and so I think that'll still be a really great demo. And then in the Fittopedia, when I finish it, it will also have, okay, so cut that, there we go. Like if you have one of these collars and you make one of these neck adjustments, sometimes you don't really have the support from the pattern to know, how would I change this collar? So I'm going to show you how to do that in Fittopedia. It'll be like a bonus section at the end, but part of it. It's not really a bonus. It actually is part of it. All right, so now our shirt is together, and we can do our neck. And our, if we wanted it on the hem, we would do the hem. And we have our center front too. We actually still need to do the center front. Oh yeah. Let's go to the iron quick. While I'm happy to be using the mask elastic, I definitely don't think it's the most ideal elastic, but hey, knowing we're using it up is pretty exciting. And it's really soft. I'm really hoping that it washes well. So I'm just finding my center, lining up my shoulders. We don't want crooked boobs. We already have crooked boobs, right? Maybe we could crooked the front the opposite way and straighten out our boobs. All right. So I'm gonna start, this one's really long. I think I'm gonna start like, maybe like right here. If I wasn't live, I would try this on and see kind of where I wanted this to be. So I'm just kind of making an educated guess right now. Oh, I mean to do this on the wrong side. Oops. Wrong side. And again, I am going to start at the bottom, hide all this at the bottom. Let's try and do it further apart again. I don't think I did a very good job last time, but we're going to try. About right here. Yeah, we'll try this. See if I can do it. Can you please get under there? Feed dogs are so sharp. Your bobbin will show on this. All right, so even tension, Jeremy. Come on, you can do it. Corrective t-shirts, right? Looks really weird. I always get lazy and just pull the camera down. I'm just trying to stay parallel to my fold. The hair marker could be really helpful here. You could even make 3 creases with your iron, 1 to sew on, or just the ones to sew on would be good. All right, here we go. I'm just trying not to sew my other shirt, my other side. I did this one pretty far apart. Did anyone see Amy here today? I wanted to see if she's watching a show or if she's watched it. That might be too wide. No, we'll see. Like I tell people all the time, without doing a ton of experiments on the exact same fabric, exact same notions, you really don't know. That one's a lot wider. Kind of like it. It could have been closer together though. I think my other one's probably, I want to say it's more like 1.5 inches apart. I don't know, what do you think? This side looks a little scrunchier. But when it's on, it's gonna behave a lot differently. All right, let's do our neck. And I'll probably just hem my hem because I'm gonna leave this one undone. Let's trim this down. Night, Mullen. Sleep well. May you dream of ruffle tops or ruffles on everything. Or maybe that would be a nightmare for you. Sorry. Gosh, this would have been such a good place for my clean finished serger tails. And I could have shown you guys my video. I did hear that I can use my editing software on the iPad. I downloaded it yesterday. I'm gonna try. I'm not a Mac user, so I'm kind of like, okay. It's not a Mac program, but okay. All right, let's do this around the neck a little bit, just for some added cuteness. Probably the best plan with the mask elastic is what I would say is don't be lazy like me and stretch it as you go. I know it's tempting, but you can see I'm getting kind of mixed results, right? So I think that I would recommend doing a little bit of math, going, okay, my mask elastic, I need about 1/3 of the measurement to get the effect I want. So if my neck right now measures, 21, and I want it to be, 19, I would do that math, like I would figure it out how much, and cut your piece of elastic and then hold it very consistently. And then also, you know where you have to end with it, so you'll get there. When they're sewing this in production, they're using what's called an elastic meter on the machine. It really helps. And I've seen elastic meters for that I could buy for this industrial. I don't know if they have those for home machines, but they might. It's kind of the same sort of concept as a differential, but in reverse. All right, so I just butted it up against the ends there. So I got a very slightly gathered. And so the one thing that's interesting about that brown one is that the fabric rolled, and that sort of covers up the raw edge, but I kind of like that. All right. So this just means I just need my hems, which is my cover stitch. I didn't set my cover stitch up, but I would cover stitch the hems. I would also have I'll use white thread, not this off-white. I don't know why I did that. My other one was off-white. All right, so I just wanted to show you one step with the shearing elastic. Wait, this isn't the one I just sewed, is it? Is it? I don't think so. Oh yeah, this is the one I just sewed. Make sure you do this step when you put your shearing elastic in. You want to steam it. So I should have steamed this before I tied off those edges, right? It'll scrunch up better too when you do that. I got to fix this neck. That one didn't go well. The good thing about this stuff is it comes out really easily. You'll see the thread. You can just pull the elastic, zoop, and it just pulls out, and you can do it again. And the same with this waist here. I like the higher up one row. That's pretty. So say you do like a shearing heavy dress like the Franconia or the Itch to Stitch Azores. When you do this, at first you're kind of like, oh, this looks kind of like big. And then you will do the steaming and you can see it scrunch up before your eyes. It's sort of magical. And, or you can wash and dry it too. So I need to fix the neck, but I'll do that later. Oh, the elastic meter. Yeah, it's the way it holds it is going to distribute the elastic on there at the rate that you've set it up for. But yeah, exactly. And when I've seen them in use, the machine was dedicated to it, and I never used it, so I don't really know a whole lot about it. I just know they exist. Sorry. I just know they exist. We were just talking the other day, or today, about how, in the guild, about how so many people still think that machines make our clothes, like mass production. And like a literal machine, like a robot, and not like humans aren't involved. And it's not true. Like there are a lot of automations in place, but garment making is one of the rare things that they haven't figured out how to fully automate from start to finish. A lot of humans are still involved. And that's why, people are talking about the exploitation of garment workers and stuff, is that they are 100% not paid enough and exploited in a lot of places. The working conditions are terrible. All right. Maybe I'll leave this neck just like that. That could work. I may even redo this one to make sure I have enough, but once I try this on, I'll be able to tell. And now maybe I'll add it to the sleeves as well. I could just hem the sleeves. I like all the options with this. This one looks so different. It's like so optic white. That's what they would call this, like really this, because this is unbleached. I would call this unbleached. It probably is maybe dyed a cream color, but I think it's unbleached. This is bleached. You can see the difference. So yeah, there we go. So we have our little crop sleeve version. I think that looks really cute. I can't wait to try this on. Wider. I think I like the narrower. I think this width right here. I think this width right here. This would be the ideal. This right here is 1 inch at the widest. So I wasn't very consistent. Like right up here, it looks a little funky. I like the longer ruffle here as opposed to the first one I did here. This one was pretty short. And I did 2 rows of shearing. Oh, sorry. My gosh, sorry. I did 2 rows on this. I like the way the shearing looks, but it really flips up the ruffle. So maybe a longer ruffle and 2 rows would look nice. This one right here has just the 1 row. I do like the way the mask elastic looks, and I think it'll be really soft to wear compared to the shearing elastic. I like the little cut-on sleeve. So yeah, so the brown one also put a row of elastic where the original armhole would have been on this sleeve. Obviously the armhole was like this, but they kind of did right here, and it makes the sleeve sort of, remember like old time saloon things where they had the like things on their sleeve? So could you put 1 more row of elastic in front of the wider one? Which one are you talking about? Are you? That's awesome, Julia. I love it. In front of, which one? Ooh, I need a drink.